Hey there and welcome back to the Normandy. My name is Pete and today we complete Mass Effect. We've made it through the intro on Eden Prime, more or less successfully located the Prothean beacon, but Shepard got shaken up quite a bit. We also have a Spectre gone rogue in Saren and a Geth army invading human colonies. All in all, a lovely setup to start this episode. So let's kick things off with Ashley.
Hey, Commander. After what happened to Jenkins, the crew could use some good news. They'll be glad to hear you're okay.
Yeah, and she still holds a grudge because we didn't invite her to join our party straight away on Eden Prime. So in this conversation we can get her a bit more on our good side, even though we probably won't use her much.
Sounds like you're disappointed I survived.
I never want to see anything bad happen to a fellow Marine, Commander. Let's just leave it at that.
And now let's apologize for being kind of a jerk on Eden Prime. I just really wanted those renegade points.
I think we got off on the wrong foot, Williams. Maybe we could start again.
I'm not one to hold a grudge. I think we're all looking to put Eden Prime behind us.
And now we can ask her how she's holding up, which opens up the way for a Paragon response in a few seconds.
Things were pretty rough down there. Are you okay?
I've seen friends die before. Comes with being a Marine. But to see my whole unit wiped out, and you never get used to seeing dead civilians. But things would have been a lot worse if you hadn't shown up.
So like I said, we currently have a bit more renegade than Paragon points, so let's tell Ashley that she helped to even that out a bit.
We couldn't have done it without you, Williams.
Thanks, Commander. I have to admit, I was a little worried about being assigned to the Normandy. It's nice when someone makes you feel welcome.
And now to show ourselves from our very best side, let's also tell her that we appreciate her being on board.
I think you're gonna fit in here just fine, Williams.
Thanks, Commander.
Right, that's 2 Paragon points. And now we're going to have a short conversation with Dr. Chakwas before we start rummaging around the ship.
Yes, Commander? Is there something you need?
This conversation is mainly used to get to codex entries about biotics, but we can also learn a bit about Dr. Chakwas, so let's start with that.
How did you end up serving on an Alliance ship?
I enlisted right out of med school. Earth always seemed boring to me. Too safe, too secure. I figured the colonies were teeming with exotic adventure. I wanted to travel the stars, tending the wounds of tough soldiers with piercing eyes and sensitive souls. Turns out military life isn't quite as romantic as I'd imagined. But humanity needs the Alliance if we want to keep expanding through the Traverse, and the Alliance always needs good doctors. So I stayed on to do my part.
Ever think you made the wrong choice?
Sometimes I think about opening a private practice back on Earth. Or maybe taking a position at one of the new med centers out in the colonies. But there's something special about working on soldiers. If I left the Alliance now, I'd feel like I was abandoning them.
Now before we get to Kaidan, there is an interesting bit of backstory about Captain Anderson, which I don't want to miss.
What do you know about Captain Anderson?
I've served with him for a few tours now. He knows when to let things slide and when to crack the whip. The crew knows he's seen pretty much anything they'll ever run into. And he cares about the people under his command.
Now let's ask about Kaidan and learn a bit about him being a biotic and the troubles that come with it.
How well do you know the Lieutenant?
I'd never worked with him before this mission. But he has an impressive service record, over a dozen special commendations. Tends to keep to himself, though. Maybe because of the headaches. It's not easy being an L2.
What does that have to do with it?
Well, most biotics now use the L3 implants. Lieutenant Elcor was wired with the old L2 configuration. Sometimes there are complications.
What kind of complications?
Severe mental disabilities, insanity, crippling physical pain. There's a long list of horrific side effects. Kaidan's lucky. He just gets migraines.
Well, good for him. Now we have finished talking and can explore the ship a bit more.
I should go.
Goodbye, Commander.
The first thing we can do is open Shepard's locker on the right here. That gives us 2 weapons, and especially the sniper rifle is pretty nice at this point. And we also get a codex entry simply for opening the locker.
Glad to see you're okay, Commander.
Sadly, we can't really interact with Kaidan at this point, but we can take the elevator downstairs, where we'll find a few additional codex entries and we can do some equipping. And elevators are something we should get used to in Mass Effect, because especially on the Citadel, we're going to take a lot of elevator rides, but at least we avoid loading screens. We can get started by heading to the left and into the back of the ship, where we find the engine room.
Shame about Jenkins, Commander.
Next to Engineer Adams, we can examine the Element 0 core, which gives us a codex entry, and then we can also take a look at the Field Integrity Monitor, which also grants a codex entry. Now we can go back. It doesn't really matter if we go left or right here, both ways lead to the same room. And then we can take some time to equip our squad. I have used some editing to make this a bit quicker. We'll start with Shepard, put the Scimitar 1 shotgun on him. Nobody else in our squad can use those at the moment, so might as well put the best one on him. We'll also equip hammerhead rounds on the shotgun, and then same logic applies to sniper rifles. That's why we give him the Reaper 3, also with hammerhead rounds. And then we go over to the armor, where we switch the armor plating upgrade for the shield regenerator. And that's it for Shepard. Now we equip Kaidan with a slightly better pistol, put a first aid interface on his armor to give him a minor health regeneration, and lastly give Ashley an armor with a bit more shields. And we'll also put some armor plating on that. And that's it. That's how we take our squad down to the Citadel in a few minutes. Now we can inspect the Mako for an easy codex entry, and then head over to the requisition officer to do some shopping.
Hey, Commander. Looking for some extra supplies before you head out?
And of course we're eager to see what he's got.
What have you got?
Whatever you want. Armor, weapons, mods. It's not standard Alliance issue, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Well, as long as you don't mind paying for it.
And why exactly should we do that? I mean, we're just doing our job here.
Why should I pay you for my weapons and armor?
My stuff doesn't come from the Alliance. I have to purchase it myself, and it's not cheap. Hell, the licenses alone have set me back more than I'd like. But no licenses, no goods. Without the goods, I'm out of a job.
Let's quickly ask him about the licenses.
What are licenses? Why do you need them?
Manufacturers sell licenses. Each license allows me to buy and sell a certain brand of products. I already have several basic ones, but you'll need to buy more if you want me to bring in different brands. Many of the best licenses are hard to get, but they're well worth the cost if you can find them.
Oh, how so? Maybe some info on which brands are special?
What do the different manufacturers offer?
There are too many for me to keep track of, but each license will explain what it's good for.
So how often do we need to check back with you to not miss anything?
How often will you get new items?
Well, that depends on how many licenses you've purchased, but I'll rotate items on a regular basis regardless. And anytime we land someplace with a big enough port, I'll buy, sell, and trade whatever I can. Check back often. I need to move items quickly, so only the most basic items will be stocked consistently.
Alright then, show us what you got.
Let's see what you've got.
You bet, Commander.
Okay, now before we get into buying, we're going to sell some stuff, and quite a bit actually. We will keep all of our ammo, weapon and armor upgrades, but we can sell pretty much any low-level weapon at this point, because we are already pretty well equipped, and the loot from here on out is only going to get better. The only thing that we're not going to sell right now is the light Quarian armor, for reasons I will not get into to avoid spoilers, and that armor also serves only as a backup. And we also keep the heavy human armor, because that is quite powerful. We just have nobody who can use it at the moment. Okay, and now let's buy some things. Most of the stuff is way too expensive for us to purchase right now, but the grenade upgrade and the medi-gel upgrade, those are the two that we can afford and that we definitely should pick up now. Alright, there is not much left to do on the Normandy now, so we can take the elevator back up, where we'll grab 2 more codex entries before then heading off to the Citadel. And since we already explored everything on deck 2, it's now time to move up to deck 1. Now you see, with the limited options that we have, there is not really much to do on the Normandy before going to the Citadel. I would argue that the game really starts at the Citadel, and this part of the Normandy beforehand serves as kind of a conclusion to the intro. Now, by examining the FTL comlink here, we get the communications codex entry. On our way back we can also get a quick one-liner from Navigator Presley.
I'm glad you're okay, Commander. Losing Jenkins was hard enough on you.
And then get the final codex entry for now from the nav manual. And now it's time to head to the Citadel. We can do so by talking to Joker.
Good timing, Commander. I was just about to bring us into the Citadel. See that taxpayer money at work.
And I will shut up for that because it's one of the most impressive cutscenes in the game.
The Ascension, flagship of the Citadel fleet.
Well, size isn't everything.
Why so touchy, Joker?
I'm just saying you need firepower too.
Look at that monster. Its main gun could rip through the barriers in any ship in the Alliance fleet.
Good thing it's on our side, then.
Citadel Control, this is SSV Normandy, requesting permission to land.
Stand by for clearance, Normandy. Clearance granted. You may begin your approach. Transferring you to an Alliance operator.
Roger, Alliance Tower. Normandy out.
Normandy, this is Alliance Tower. Please proceed to Dock 422.
This is an outrage! The Council would step in if the Geth attacked a Turian colony?
The Turians don't found colonies on the borders of the Terminus systems, Ambassador.
Humanity was well aware of the risks when you went into the Traverse.
What about Saren? You can't just ignore a rogue Spectre. I demand action!
You don't get to make demands of the Council, Ambassador.
Citadel Security is investigating your charges against Saren. We will discuss the CSEC findings at the hearing, not before.
Captain Anderson, I see you brought half your crew with you.
Just the ground team from Eden Prime, in case you had any questions.
I have the mission reports. I assume they're accurate?
They are. Sounds like you convinced the Council to give us an audience.
They were not happy about it. Saren's their top agent. They don't like him being accused of treason.
Well, there is only one option here that really gives us anything, and that is, to no surprise, the Renegade one.
I'm not gonna sit on my ass just because the Council doesn't want to do anything. If they won't stop Saren, I will.
Settle down, Commander. You've already done more than enough to jeopardize your candidacy for the Spectres. The mission on Eden Prime was a chance to prove you could get the job done. Instead, Nihilus ended up dead and the beacon was destroyed.
That's Saren's fault, not his.
Then we better hope the CSEC investigation turns up evidence to support our accusations. Otherwise, the Council might use this as an excuse to keep you out of the Spectres. Come with me, Captain. I want to go over a few things before the hearing. Shepard, you and the others can meet us at the Citadel Tower, top level. I'll make sure you have clearance to get in.
And that's why I hate politicians.
Yeah, Ashley, I feel you. Alright, now we have a mission on our hands, and that would be to prove to the Council that Saren's gone rogue. Now, we won't be able to do much in that regard before the first hearing, but I also don't want to start that first hearing right away, because there is a lot of interesting stuff nearby. For example, when hacking this computer, we get the message that Captain Hendrickson reported some unusual energy readings during a patrol of the Argus rogue cluster. She had particular concerns about the Hydra system, but was recalled before her team could investigate further. No patrols are scheduled for that sector. Do we want to send in a recon team? Well, maybe we do. Now, this mission will get added as a side quest to our journal, and we will pick up quite a few more of a similar kind. And now let's see what's going on next doors.
I understand what you're saying, but these allegations are very serious. I can't just... This is serious. My reputation is at stake. I spoke with the consort in confidence, and her alone, and she betrayed that confidence. All right, I will look into it for you. In the meantime, do not do anything rash. Pleased greeting. Human, it is always good to see your kind. I am Ambassador Kalen. Genuine query. Is there something I can do for you this day?
Yeah, actually there is. So what's your job as ambassador here?
What do you do here?
Modestly. I work to bring the problems and the requests of the Elcor groups to the attention of the Council.
Ha! They only give us these positions to keep us quiet. The Council doesn't care about our races.
Chastising rebuke. Your tone is inappropriate, Din. This human is not to blame for your malcontent or your misconceived suspicions.
And then the more obvious question, what are you?
Tell me more about your species.
Genuine enthusiasm. I delight in telling the history of my people. It is agreeable to share our culture with others.
Well then, I suppose we should delight you. Tell us more about your history.
Tell me about the history and origins of the Elcor.
The Elcor were just beginning to explore Council space when the Asari first made contact with us. With their help, we discovered the relay closest to our system, and from there the Citadel. Proudly, within one lifetime we established a regular route to the Citadel, and quickly became one of the more active species living on this great station.
And those pieces of history, they just make the Mass Effect universe so rich and deep, and I really appreciate that we get the chance to dive into all that. So let's also ask about the Elcor culture to learn a bit more.
I'd like to know more about the culture of the Elcor.
Frankly, we Elcor prefer the safety and familiarity of our own colonies to the confines of space travel. Our society is built on small, tight-knit groups. Though we are always welcoming to outsiders, our government tends to be very stable. Our people are not very comfortable with sudden changes.
So a very stable Elcor society. Interesting. Now there is one last thing to ask, and that is about the way they speak, which seems a bit unusual.
Why do you explain what you're about to say?
Our people communicate less through words and more through scent and slight movements. Plainly, we discovered our vocal expression was not enough to convey the feelings of our conversations to other species.
Why do you bother, Kalen? These Earth Clan don't really care about our ways.
Remorseful response, Din. You don't truly believe that, and if you do, I am very sorry for you.
Thank you, Kalen. I think it's now time that we have a chat with the little fella next to you.
Goodbye, Ambassador.
Sincere farewell. Good day to you, human. Enjoy your time on the Citadel.
Earth Clan, you are in the wrong place, I think. Your ambassador is next door in the large office.
Chastising remark. Don't be so rude, Din. At least introduce yourself.
I am Din Korlack, Volus Ambassador. Is there something I can do for you, Earth Clan?
Well, to start with, you could drop the attitude, and then maybe tell me what you do here besides bitching around all day.
What is it you do here?
I look out for the best interests of the Volus people. No easy task considering how often we are overlooked by the Council.
Chastising rebuke, Din. The Council favors your species greatly.
You are naive. The Earth Clan will be invited to the Council long before our species will.
Why aren't the Volus or Elcor part of the Council?
All species must prove themselves before they join the Council. All but the Earth Clans, it would seem.
Dismissive. Ignore the Volus Ambassador, human. He is incorrect in his assessment.
Really? How long have we been waiting? How long do you think we'll continue to wait? Bah, this talk is wasted on the humans.
So just like with the Elcor, let's learn a bit more about the Volus here.
I'd like to know more about the Volus.
I'm sure our history and culture would bore you, Earth Clan.
Well, in fact they don't, so please go ahead.
Actually, I would like to know more about your history.
My people came to the Citadel shortly after the Asari and Salarians had discovered it. We were instrumental in establishing a standardized galactic economy. However, despite our long association with the Citadel and our many contributions to galactic society, we still do not hold a seat on the Council.
So I assume your culture consists of complaining all day, right?
Tell me about Volus culture.
We are tribal by nature, but our ways are not violent. We barter and trade our lands and tribe members in order to increase status. Larger tribes often engulf smaller ones and eventually split again. Our society is very malleable, and our government is always shifting and changing. Since we're not physically adept, we trade our services for protection.
Yeah, I can see that. Now, one thing we haven't asked anybody yet is, where are we?
What is this place?
You are in the embassy for the Volus and the Elcor.
Your ambassador is next door, in his own office.
Yeah, that's where I came from.
In this shared space, I aid my fellow Volus when I'm not being interrupted.
Well, excuse me for expressing interest in your civilization. What is wrong with you?
You seem to have a bit of a chip on your shoulder, Din.
You humans are new to the Citadel, and yet the Council has granted you great favor.
Chastising rebuke, Din. Your species has always been granted many concessions. Volus territory has expanded tenfold since coming to the Citadel.
Details. We still have no real say in the decisions that affect Citadel space.
Well, seems like it doesn't make much sense to continue this conversation now.
Goodbye, Ambassador.
Yes. Good day, Earth Clan.
Now, 2 codex entries richer, let's talk to Xeltan. Because we overheard him complain about troubles with a consort, maybe we can help him out.
Hello there, human. Sincere apology, but I am here on business and cannot be distracted right now.
Well, sounds to me like your business isn't going the way you planned.
You seem distressed. Is there something I can do to help?
Alarmed response. You overheard that, did you? This is all going so wrong, and it is the Asari consort's fault. She's the one who started all this.
Well, what is all this, exactly?
What did this Asari do to get you so upset?
I cannot speak more about this problem. It is too sensitive. Suffice it to say, she has compromised my authority as a diplomat.
Well, then can you at least tell us where she is?
Where can I find this Asari consort?
She is across the bridge from here. Her offices are easy enough to spot. Good day, human.
Good day, Xeltan. I have a feeling we will meet again. And I think that serves as a nice point to cut this episode. Next time we'll continue exploring the premises. That will probably get a bit dialogue heavy again, but we'll also push the story forward soon. So I'll hope to see you next time. Until then, thanks for watching. Cheers.